Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Assalamu alaikum jami'an. I hope you can hear me. My name is Kayan Akram Jaf. I am from FAO's regional office. I'm the Senior Partnerships and Resource Mobilization Advisor at FAO's regional office. And I will be moderating this private sector dialogue, which is related to our 36th FAO Regional Conference for the Near East and North Africa, which starts inshallah on Monday and Tuesday in Baghdad, Iraq, which is where I am right now as a part of the regional conference team. I want to thank all of you. In particular, I'd like to thank the ICD, the Islamic Development Bank, and all my colleagues who are here today for this event. This is the first of such an event that FAO is hosting, and that we were co-hosting with Thiqa and with all of our brothers and sisters who are here today. Allow me just to take you through, as a moderator, through the agenda. We have 2 hours for this event. Most of you have already seen and read what FAO is doing, and I thank you for this, and I look forward to a very interactive event. I will start with a 10-minute introduction and then followed by a short video. And then there is also some presentations by FAO. And before that, we have 2 introductory remarks, one by the CEO of the ISD, Mr. Ayman Sijini, and also by the Assistant Director General of the regional office, Ustad Abdul Hakim Al-Wa'ir. And then we will have some dialogue sessions in between, and then some Q&As and some of the presentations from partners. Then I'll make a concluding remarks. Hopefully this will be done in 2 hours, inshallah. Just some housekeeping rules, if I may just share with all of you. Next slide. Yes, thank you. Some very important notes. This is a live webinar through Zoom. So only the speakers and myself can actually share audio and video with the attendees. You can ask questions through the Q&A tab and also through the chat. We also have simultaneous interpretation available in French into English. And if there is, and then we have also, we are hoping, and I think it's still on, we are streaming this live also through YouTube, which is also a much larger audience for us all. So without any further ado, if I may just pass the floor to, next slide, please. Yes, it is my honor to introduce Mr. Ayman Sijini. I have to say that he's the CEO, of course, of the Islamic Cooperation for the Development of the Private Sector, as a part of the Islamic Development Bank, and we are honored to have him with us. He is a very close partner and a friend and a brother to FAO, and he has been shoulder to shoulder with us throughout our development of the private sector. So without any further ado, I give the floor to Mr. Ayman Sijini. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wassalatu wassalam ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. On behalf of the Islamic Corporation for the Development of the Private Sector, ICD, the private sector arm of the Islamic Development Bank Group, ISDB Group, it is an honor and privilege to join you at the private sector dialogue organized jointly with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations in cooperation with the Islamic Development Bank Group Business Forum, Thiqa. It is indeed an honor to be granted this unique opportunity to address all of you in today's forum and to share with you some points of view. As we are all aware, the economic shock of the COVID-19 pandemic has been unprecedented, both in its complexity and severity. The fear of pandemic not only caused disruptions in production, but also affected the construction of supply chain, foreign trade, and joint sustainable in all levels of businesses and industries. The magnitude of the COVID-19 impact became more apparent Accordingly, we need to think about ways in which we can formulate transformative pathways and build back better, reshape the world. In this regards, to achieve the sustainable development, it will be required in realignment of the global economy and finance system, as well the impactful investments which focus on surveying and serving the need of inclusive and environmental sustainable economic development. This is in fact the root of Islamic finance. Today's forum will provide a unique opportunity for the representatives from the private sector companies and financial institutions operating in the agriculture sector to connect and exchange to develop this vital sector. Development partners and the private sector should collaborate closely to achieve the SDG. Each stakeholder group has different and complementary roles and bring different capacities and skills that combined have the power that is needed to radically transform the region's agri-food system. Engaging into a dialogue on common objectives has the potential to open new opportunities and achieve common goals. With this purpose in mind, ICD and FAO are proposing to initiate a dialogue with the private sector in the NENA region to build a common vision about challenges faced by the region's agri-food system and to identify opportunities for private sector engagement actions around the common goal. It is expected that this dialogue will pave the way for progressive engagement of the private sector in agri-food system transformation to achieve the SDGs in the NENA region. This will happen by sharing a common understanding of the challenges faced by the agri-food system in the NENA regions and obtaining the needed feedback on the priorities identified by FAO for the region and how can the private sector contribute to addressing them. I'm proud to state that ICD also made significant steps in the development of the agri-sector. And today, we remain committed severe and several sector building initiatives. At ICD, we are also actively contributing to the development of the agriculture sector by financing infrastructure and PPP projects related to this vital sector. Thank you once again for having me today, and I look forward to fruitful and constructive discussion to achieve the form goal and identify the roadmap for agri-financing actions in the region. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ayman. Thank you very much for those encouraging words. We really cherish the partnership. Allow me just to before I give the floor to the Assistant Director General and Regional Representative of FAO in our region, the point that we would like to emphasize, and I think as it was pointed out by the Chief Executive Officer, is that in the NENA region, regional agri-food systems where the private sector plays an important role is what we're trying to let's say meet. We're trying to find these challenges to provide a growing population with affordable, accessible, and nutritious food, to dealing with already stark impacts of climate change, addressing other environmental concerns, and tackling emerging threats from pests and diseases. And I know that these are areas that the private sector can work hand in hand with FAO, and this is really the beginning of a long-term friendship between us, and we count on the ICD and also to the CEO, and thank you very much for being here and taking your time. So without any further delays, I have the honor to give the floor to Dr. Abdul Hakim Rajab Al-Wa'ir, who is the Assistant Director General and Regional Representative of FAO. Sir, you have the floor.
And thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Ayman Sajini, the Chief Executive Officer of the Islamic Corporation for Private Sector Development of the Islamic Development Bank Group. It gives me great pleasure here to rejoin my colleagues. I don't want to say old colleagues, we're still colleagues and we will remain. It is a great pleasure and honor to work together into bringing the private sector into this round table to see what are our priorities and see how we can work together in order to achieve better livelihood through the engagement of the private sector. Now let me shift to Arabic with your permission. I hope the interpretation is working well. I assume كيان. منظمة الفاو كما نعلم جميعا منظمة الأغذية والزراعة للأمم المتحدة تعمل على تطوير مشاركة شفافة موجهة نحو تحقيق النتائج مع القطاع الخاص لزيادة الاستثمارات المسؤولة والمنتجة في الزراعة. والقطاع الخاص حليف الرئيسي في المعركة العالمية ضد انعدام الأمن الغذائي وسوء التغذية والفقر. وتعزز استراتيجية المنظمة لإشراك القطاع الخاص 2021 إلى 2025 تفاعلنا من أجل إحداث تغيير تحويلي مع تأثير وفوائد قابلة للقياس ومستدامة أيضا. ومنطقة الشرق الأدنى وشمال أفريقيا تواجه حاليا عدة تحديات رئيسية ترتبط ارتباطا مباشرا بالطريقة التي ينتج بها الغذاء ويجهز ويوزع ويستهلك، وأيضا الآلية التي نتعامل فيها مع المخلفات الناتجة عن عملية إنتاج الغذاء من المزرعة إلى المائدة. وتشير أحدث طبعة من تقرير المنظمة الإقليمي لمنظمة الفاو عن الأمن الغذائي والتغذية إلى أن أكثر من 51 مليون شخص في المنطقة يعانون من الجوع، وهذا مؤشر خطير جدا. إن الجوع في المنطقة آخذ في الازدياد، ونتوقع أن تؤدي آثار جائحة كوفيد-19 إلى زيادة تفاقم الحالة في السنوات المقبلة، في حين أن الصراعات والنزاعات والأزمات هي الدوافع الرئيسية وراء تدهور حالة الجوع في المنطقة. فإن نظم الأغذية والزراعة في المنطقة تفشل في توفير أغذية ميسورة التكلفة ومتنوعة وآمنة ومغذية للجميع. وقد أدى الطلب المتزايد على إطعام السكان في المنطقة الذين يتزايد عددهم بسرعة كبيرة جدا في المنطقة، إلى جانب الضغوط البيئية وتدهور السريع للموارد الطبيعية في المنطقة. وبينما تنهار أنظمة الإنتاج لدينا فإننا نواصل إهدار جزء كبير من الغذاء الذي ننتجه. أطلقت المكتب الإقليمي للشرق الأدنى وشمال أفريقيا لمنظمة الأغذية والزراعة الأمم المتحدة الفاو يوم 12 من شهر يوليو 2021 حوارا عبر الإنترنت مع القطاع الخاص في منطقة الشرق الأدنى وشمال أفريقيا بعنوان حوار مع أصحاب المصلحة من القطاع الخاص لتحويل النظم الزراعية والغذائية، وذلك لتحديد فرص مشاركة هذا القطاع في تحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة، ولا سيما الهدف الثاني المتمثل في القضاء على الجوع. وقام بالافتتاح المدير العام للمنظمة دكتور جون كيو، وكان هذا أول اجتماع لسلسلة من التفاعلات والمشاركات من القطاع الخاص. والهدف الرئيسي من هذا الحوار هو أن يكون هناك فهم مشترك للتحديات التي تواجهها النظم الغذائية والزراعية في الإقليم، التعريف بالأربع أولويات التي حددتهم المنظمة للإقليم وكيف يمكن للقطاع الخاص أن يسهم في معالجتهم، تحديد القيود التي تحول دون اشتراك القطاع الخاص بشكل أفضل في تحويل النظم الغذائية لتحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة والطرق الممكنة للتغلب عليها، مناقشة وضع خارطة طريق لعمل شراكة عامة وخاصة في الإقليم بشكل عام. وفي هذا الحوار استهدف 3 فئات من الجهات الفاعلة في القطاع الخاص، وهي المشاريع المتناهية الصغر والصغيرة والمتوسطة المعنية بالأغذية الزراعية، بما فيها الشركات الناشئة التي بإمكانها أن تلعب دورا حاسما في تحقيق الأمن الغذائي والقضاء على الفقر في المناطق الريفية، مع تأكيد خاص على الزراعة الرقمية والمشاريع التي يقودها الشباب والنساء. ثانياً، الشركات الكبيرة بما فيها الشركات الوطنية والمتعددة الجنسيات والشركات المملوكة للحكومة العاملة في قطاع الأغذية الزراعية، بما في ذلك إنتاج الأغذية ومعالجتها وتوزيعها وبيعها بالتجزئة. ثالثاً، المؤسسات المالية بما فيها البنوك التجارية والمستثمرون الخاصون والمستثمرون المؤثرون وغير ذلك من مؤسسات الاستثمار الخاصة التي يمكنها لعب دور حاسم في تعبئة استثمارات القطاع الخاص لتحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة. ومن خلال مبادرة الفاو، مبادرة معروفة يداً بيد hand in hand، نسعى أن نعمل معاً لتوفير شراكات مطابقة مع البلدان المانحة وبنوك التنمية والقطاع الخاص وغيرها لتسريع التحول الزراعي والتنمية الريفية المستدامة وإقامة شراكات بناءة مع القطاع الخاص، أمر أساسي لتحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة. وتركز المبادرة على المجتمعات الريفية تحديداً الأكثر فقراً والتي لم يكن لها الفرصة للمساهمة في تطوير بلدانها. ترغب الفاو في إخراج هذه المجتمعات من الفقر من خلال الشراكات التي تشمل الدول المانحة وبنوك التنمية والقطاع الخاص وغيرها من أصحاب المصلحة، والهدف هو جعل هذه المجتمعات جهات فاعلة في تطوير بلدانها ومناطقها عن طريق تيسير وصولها إلى الاستثمارات والأسواق والمزيد من أدوات الإنتاج الفعالة. وتهدف المنظمة إلى تيسير وصول المجتمعات المحلية الأكثر ضعفاً إلى الاستثمارات والأسواق وأدوات الإنتاج الأكثر فعالية لجعلها طرفاً فاعلاً ونشطاً في التحول الزراعي والتنمية الريفية. والاستثمارات المسؤولة في النظم الزراعية والغذائية ضرورية لضمان الأمن الغذائي والحصول على تغذية صحية آمنة للجميع، حيث تسهم الاستثمارات المسؤولة إسهاماً كبيراً في تعزيز سبل العيش المستدامة، ولا سيما صغار الملاك والحيازات الصغيرة وأفراد الفئات المهمشة والضعيفة. كذلك خلق عمل لائق لجميع العاملين في مجال الزراعة وخصوصا في المناطق الريفية. أيضا فتح فرص عمل كبيرة في سلسلة الإمداد بأكملها من المزرعة إلى المائدة، والتي تتمثل في التصنيع للغذاء والتسويق والتوزيع والتخزين والنقل وإيصال إلى المستهلك، إلى مرحلة إعادة تدوير بعض المخلفات الناتجة عن هذه العملية، وكذلك تحفيز استثمارات أكبر وخلق استثمارات أكبر من خلال دعم سلاسل الإمداد في الغذاء. ختاماً أود أن أؤكد أن منظمة الفاو تسعى بشكل جيد وجاد لتعميق الشراكة مع القطاع الخاص، وتؤمن إيماناً جزيماً بأن الشراكة مع القطاع الخاص هي الحل الأمثل للوصول إلى حلول ناجعة وفعالة للقضاء على الأمن الغذائي. المؤشرات التي لدينا اليوم تشير إلى أن إقليم الشرق الأدنى وشمال أفريقيا ليس على المسار الصحيح لتحقيق هدف التنمية المستدامة رقم 2 للقضاء على الجوع بحلول سنة 2030. واستمرار الإقليم في هذه السياسات وهذه العمليات لن يصل بالإقليم إلى تحقيق هذه الأهداف. بالتالي الأمر يتطلب وقفة جادة وإعادة النظر في هذه السياسات، بما فيها فتح المجال للقطاع الخاص لدعم الاستثمارات بشكل أكبر حتى نتمكن من التسريع في الوصول إلى أهداف التنمية المستدامة. تبقى المؤثرات أو العوامل دائمة الزمن والتي على رأسها تغير المناخ، ندرة الموارد المائية والنزاعات القائمة في المنطقة، هي من العوامل الأساسية التي تحد من هذه الشراكة وفعالية هذه الشراكة. ونحاول ونسعى جميعا إلى وجود أفضل الفرص وأنجع الأساليب التي يمكن أن نتشارك فيها لإحداث أثر على أرض الواقع. الشكر موصول للICD في مجموعة البنك الإسلامي للتنمية، وعلى رأسها سيد أيمن سجيني المدير التنفيذي، وكذلك الأخ نبيل العالمي والأخ سهل مروعي من منصة ثقة للقطاع الخاص في التعامل والتعاون مع المكتب الإقليمي لمنظمة الأغذية والزراعة في الشرق الأدنى وشمال أفريقيا في هذا الحدث. ونتطلع إلى استمرار هذه الشراكة ما بيننا لجلب المزيد من الاهتمام ومناقشة القضايا الرئيسية. أود أن أؤكد أن مخرجات هذا الاجتماع ستذهب إلى الاجتماع الوزاري لوزراء الزراعة في إقليم الشرق الأدنى وشمال أفريقيا، والذي يضم 30 دولة، ستنعقد في بغداد عاصمة العراق يوم 7 و8 من شهر فبراير هذا الشهر الحالي. أنا حاليا أخاطبكم من بغداد، وصلت أمس إلى بغداد ومطلع بالتحضيرات اللازمة، وكل التحضيرات جيدة، ونتطلع إلى استضافة ممثليكم من خلال هذا الاجتماع لعرض نتائج هذا الاجتماع على معالي الوزراء يوم الجلسة الأولى في الافتتاحية يوم 7 من فبراير، بحيث تأخذ توصيات القطاع الخاص إلى معالي الوزراء وتظهر في شكل توصيات نهائية من الوزراء إلى الإعلان الذي سيصدر عن هذا اللقاء في ختام لقاء الوزاري يوم 8 من فبراير. وبالتالي كل ما يحصل في هذا اليوم هو في الواقع مساهمة لإثراء النقاش لتوجيه السياسات التي تتعلق بأولويات القطاع الخاص في الإقليم إلى أصحاب السياسات اللي هم الوزراء، اللي سيرفعونها إلى المؤتمر العام لمنظمة الفاو لإقرارها بشكل أكثر على المستوى الدولي. أقف عند هذا الحد وأتمنى لكم التوفيق، وإن شاء الله نقاش ناجح، ونتطلع إلى التواصل بالتوصيات النهائية اللي ستعرض يوم 7 من فبراير على الاجتماع الوزاري 36 لوزراء الزراعة في إقليم الشرق الأدنى. تحياتي لكم جميعا.
شكرا جزيلا دكتور عبد الحكيم على هذا المداخلة الجوهرية المهمة. Thank you very much. Without really, since we only have 2 hours, let me just set the stage for the next segment. We would like to play a short video about FAO. It's a general video which will give you some idea, نبذة على وضع الفاو، وطبعا followed then with a video by ICD. I just like to emphasize that the private sector, the aim here is for us to develop a relationship with the private sector, which can be a strategic development partner. The word is development, offering innovative tools, resources, knowledge, and technologies that are critical for reinforcing our impact on the ground. So this is what we are interested in. It can, and I will talk more about this, from the small farmers to the financial institutions, which I will make some comments about that. If we can play the FAO video, please.
Food. We all need food. Food is essential for life. Not just enough food so you don't go hungry, but also the right mix of food, so you get the nutrients you need. Without it, we would grow sick, stunted, or die. There are more of us than ever before, many more. In the last 100 years, we have doubled, tripled, and our population is still growing dramatically, but our resources have remained the same. The Food and Agriculture Organization was created in 1945, after we had suffered 2 world wars, a Great Depression, and countless other conflicts, famines, and disasters, which helped us understand that we're all in this together. Sir John Boyd Orr, FAO's first Director General, declared,
"Our aim is that every man, woman, and child in the world should have the food he needs to be really healthy."
At that time, a third of us was suffering from hunger and malnutrition. Although the population has since tripled, the number of hungry people has been reduced to 1 in 9. FAO is a neutral forum where most countries are now represented. Together we can change the system and eradicate hunger without compromising our biodiversity or ecosystems. In these 70 years, many things have changed. Together, men and women can now combine the discoveries of modern science with our ancient arts of farming, fishing, and forestry, and make this knowledge and experience available for everyone. This knowledge has allowed us to completely eliminate rinderpest, the cattle plague which decimated herds, and control the propagation of other viral livestock diseases. Integrate pest management without relying on excessive use of pesticides. Regulate fishing with a code of conduct for responsible fisheries. Reduce the effects of locust swarms as they move from country to country. Develop international food safety standards with the Codex Alimentarius. set up the International Treaty of Plant Genetic Resources, and oversee the worldwide collection and storage of seeds. Whether it is by using modern scientific methods or age-old remedies, the experience and expertise collected by FAO is available for everyone to learn from and put to use. FAO is also here to work with governments and civil society to resolve the economic, production, distribution and storage problems which countries have to face, both in good times and in bad, and advise on how to increase resilience to mitigate disasters. We also promote farming methods and techniques to help avoid overfarming, overfishing and unrestrained logging to ensure the earth can continue to sustain us now and in the future.
Nuestro mandato sigue tan necesario como cuando empezamos en 1945. Dar comida a todos. Transformar la comida en un derecho de todos.
Even if we continue to multiply, we can be the zero hunger generation, helping countries to provide good, nutritious food for everyone.
Thank you very much. Can we now go to the ICD video, please? Thank you.
What does a business need to succeed? It needs strong leadership, clear goals, industry expertise, and financial stability. Together, these elements can contribute to your business's success, growth, prosperity, and longevity. With a heritage of helping businesses to thrive, ICD can support you. As part of the Islamic Development Bank Group, ICD provides access to finance. We've spent more than 20 years powering positive economic transformation across our member countries. Our vision is for sustained economic and social growth and prosperity across all of our member countries. And we support that vision by offering financial security, long-lasting partnership, deep expertise, and complete trust, so we can develop your projects and your expertise. Through our diverse range of Islamic finance products, such as line of finance, term and equity finance, your business will enjoy new opportunities. You can receive funding for existing and new projects, gain access to technical expertise and valuable training, and contribute meaningfully to your sustainable development goals by creating new jobs. Our support even extends beyond finance, with advisory services, debt capital market development, Sukuk issuance support and expert guidance. Plus, our online platform, The Bridge, opens new horizons to our network and connects financial institutions who are ready to do business beyond their borders. Whatever eligible sector you work in, we can help you build a strong foundation on which to grow, so you can move forward to achieve your ambitions.
Thank you very much, everyone. Those were two short videos about the two institutions that are organizing this very important and innovative event. Before I give the floor to Jean-Marc Forêt, who's our regional program leader and the regional office of FAO, allow me just to highlight the areas or the array of private sector actors that we would like to address. That goes from farmers, including smallholders and family farmers, foresters, livestock herders, and fishermen, to micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises and large companies, as well as financial institutions. These are the instrumental drivers that I will talk about as we go through this exercise together. The landscaping of who is involved is also very important. So on that note, I hand the floor to Jean-Marc to touch upon some of our regional priorities in the region. Jean-Marc, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kayan. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I am going to dig a little bit deeper into the work of FAO in the region. I believe that if we want to establish a dialogue, a partnership, knowing each other is obviously the first step. And I believe also these two videos helped us going one step further into understanding each other. So I will present our priorities for the region, the way they are organized within our general FAO corporate framework, and then some hints about the work we do and the results we achieve. So this is really as a kind of information discussion. If I may get the next slide. So we are just embarking into what we call our FAO strategic framework. Next slide, please. This framework is a 10 to 15-year framework that provides the vision, the global goals, and the strategic objectives of FAO. The medium-term plan is a rolling plan that is much more focused and is revised every 2 years, and it's a 4-year plan. And then what is the most concrete is what we call our program of work and budget, 2 years. This comes with specific activities, specific results, and budget associated to this. Next, please. The narrative that sustaining our strategic framework is a long sentence, but it really captures everything FAO intends to achieve. FAO supports the Agenda 2030 through the transformation of agri-food system so that they become more efficient, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable. And then we have what we call 4 better: better production, better nutrition, better environment, and better life. And because all what we do serves the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, the motto of leaving no one behind is a part of our narrative and a central element of what we do. Next. So these 4 better, they summarize very nicely the complexity of looking at what was initially probably seen relatively easily. You need food, so you need agriculture. Agriculture will feed people. This is obviously still very much true, but we have seen in the presentation the challenge that we have ahead, and we try to capture all we do in these 4 areas. Better production, we do need to produce more and better. Better nutrition, because it's not enough to have enough food, we need the right food, and we need people to have healthy diets. Better environment, because more and more our agriculture is a major player into the environmental sustainability, and there is a lot that we have to do to make sure that our agriculture is sustainable. And all this should be conducive to better life for all, including for those who are part of our agri-food systems, the producers, the value chains actors, etc. Next. So our work program is articulated around these 4 betters, and there is a further element of programmatic, what we call the programmatic priority areas. You can see them here on the screen. I will not read them all, but these are 20 areas on which we work, and together they allow us to address those 4 betters. You can also see at the bottom of this schematic representation of our work that we work on what we call accelerators. And accelerators are really what will make things happen. Innovation, technology, data, governance, institutions, finance. These are the ways, the tools that we have to address the different betters. Next. So that is FAO's corporate program. Everything I've shown you is valid across the world, and it is the framework in which we work. Now, at regional level, we have to acknowledge that regions are very diverse, and this is why we are a decentralized organization. Our regional office for the Near East and North Africa focuses on this region, and we have specific priorities. We need to address challenges. Some of these can be the same that you see in many places. Others are typical to the region. Here, just to mention a few, we know that our region is an extreme region in terms of water and land scarcity. We are the most water scarce region in the world. And we also know that to produce food, we need a lot of water. So this region has a major water challenge in terms of its agri-food system. The same applies to climate change. This is one of the regions that is expected to be most hit, and we already see the impact of climate change with long heat waves that affect agriculture, livestock, in particular, because as we talk now here about food and agriculture. A lot of other degradation issues. We also have a region of contrast with some of the richest countries in the world and some of the poorest. And unfortunately, a record of countries either in crisis or in conflict. And these countries have specific needs that need to be addressed also. I would like to add also to this the fact that we have, unfortunately, increasingly imbalance in terms of nutrition, and we see a growing increase of overweight and obesity. These are just a few examples of challenges to the region's agri-food system that FAO has been analyzing so that we can organize our work in response to these challenges. Next. So, and at our last, every 2 years, we have our regional conference. We heard about the one that will take place next week. At the last conference, the member countries have agreed to organize our work around 4 major regional priorities. The first one is to reduce the divide between rural and urban livelihoods. It is unfortunate that very often in our countries, being rural means being poor, and we see that we have much more poor people in rural areas than in urban areas. We want rural areas to be as attractive as urban areas. We want to offer opportunities for employment for the youth. We want to empower women, and we want to reduce this divide. The second priority focuses on nutrition a lot, food security and healthy diets for all. This is a little bit down in the value chain. We deal with issues related to trade, extremely important in our region, food safety, food quality, nutrition, education, etc. The third one is to address the challenges I mentioned, some of them related to the scarcity and the fragility of our natural resources, being water, being land, the issues of deforestation, and the growing importance of climate change. And the fourth one is more specific to address issues for countries and regions in crisis, reducing, anticipating, and addressing risks. And we do this through what we call the Human Development Peace Nexus, looking not only at short-term response, but building the future. Next. So just to give you some ideas, some of the key achievements in the recent past. Next. There are documents, and for those who are interested, the website of our regional conference provides a lot of document about our activities, and I encourage you to look at them. Here are a few corporate initiatives on which we are working. One called Hand in Hand Initiative, 1,000 Digital Village, One Country, One Product, and then the COVID-19 Response and Recovery Program. Next. The hand-in-hand initiative is really an initiative that addresses the poorest areas of our regions, areas where we know that there is great potential through agriculture of reducing poverty. So it's targeted, it is country-led, country-owned. In our region, we have started working on 3 countries, which are some of the countries with the highest problem of undernutrition: Yemen, Sudan, and Syria. And you can see from this slide that every country has a different entry point according to how the country sees its priorities. But definitely this is a multidisciplinary approach. This is a focused approach. It's science-based, it's evidence-based, and it intends to bring together coalitions around lifting rural people out of poverty. Next. The second one is called the 1,000 Digital Village Initiative. This initiative is really to make the benefit of the information technology revolution accessible to poor, to rural people, to producers. It focuses on production, e-agriculture. It focuses on services to farmers, market, finance, or general support, digital services for rural transformation. This is something that is moving very fast. Probably I have here 7 countries. Probably by now we are already working in more countries. It goes from developing more mobile applications for digital extension, farmer to farmer or farmer to expert digital platforms, e-commerce, e-agriculture strategies, etc. We see that this will grow very fast in the years to come. Next. This One Country, One Priority product is another initiative. This is just starting, and the purpose is really to transform food systems through green development of special agro products. Countries select products that can really be enhanced, and their production and their use can be done in a way that makes them makes their food system more inclusive and more profitable, in particular for the producers. This is very much in an early stage of development. We are discussing with countries which products they consider of particular interest for their countries. Next. Just a few examples of, just to be a little bit more concrete, a few examples of what is happening in countries, for instance, under rural transformation. We are supporting West Bank and Gaza through multi-donor agribusiness development program focusing on smallholder farmers. We have launched a Youth in Arab Agri-Food Systems platform that is growing fast, and where we want to engage the youth and also hear from the youth and provide them with solutions for their engagement in agriculture. We do we have also a regional network on nutrition sensitive agri-food system, bringing together all the stakeholders for more nutrition, for more nutritious agricultural systems. We are working now in accelerating the dialogue on trade. Being the region that has the highest exposure to import, we believe that trade is extremely important in the region in all its dimension: intra-regional trade, import, but also export, because the region has a lot of opportunities. Greening agriculture, we work on more and more on what we call climate smart agriculture. We have capacity development exercises. We sensitize all countries, and we are accelerating our work in this together with countries, as we are lucky to have the next 2 COPs, COP 27 and 28, that will take place in our region. We want to make sure that a climate smart agriculture is a central part of this. We do regular reports, one that is to come very soon on the state of land and water in the region to better understand what the potential is and what the challenges are. And then we develop disaster risk reduction strategies. We establish community-based early warning systems. These are just a few of the type of activities that we do in countries or together with countries. Next. Let me just finish by the main topic of our discussion today, the partnership. We have what we could call our traditional partnerships at regional level. We have a long-lasting partnership with the League of Arab States. We help them develop what they call the Zero Hunger Initiative. Through the UN, we increasingly work as one UN through what we call issue-based coalition, so that countries benefit from a more coordinated support. We have developed specific platforms, and one that is being now very well established is a regional collaborative partnership on water scarcity. And we have a numerous partnership with academic institutions. What we really want to accelerate on is the partnership and the dialogue and the work and the engagement, both with the civil society and with the private sector, and hence the purpose of our meeting today. You heard from our Assistant Director General, our first NENA dialogue with the private sector last year. We really believe that this is just the beginning of an engagement, a discussion, a dialogue to understand better how we can work together towards common goals. The same applies with the civil society, and the same type of, we want to see the same type of partnership being developed with the civil society. Over. So I thank you very much, and Kayan, I give you back the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jean-Marc. That was really very useful. I'm sure there will be some questions and some exchanges, so we will take that from there. I think just, if I may just touch upon, before we go to the next segment, as Jean-Marc pointed out very clearly, our relationship with the private sector is a new one, and I think it's one that we are very keen to find ways and means of establishing it for a long-term relationship. We are more interested in finding win-win solutions between each other. We are also interested to know where are the complementary areas that the private sector can benefit from an organization like FAO and vice versa. We're not necessarily interested in funding from the private sector from the beginning, but we're more interested in the exchanges, in the platforms, in the opportunities. How can the private sector add value to FAO's work? Let it be in the agricultural transformation areas, or let it be through research or through innovative opportunities, and vice versa. How can FAO help the private sector in opening opportunities for them? FAO plays the role of an honest broker, and this is what we intend to continue to do. The honesty and the transparency is where our relationship and the collaboration in this partnership will achieve, as Jean-Marc said, the SDG goals. So, and I, again, as we go through this, in my role as the moderator, I'll try to bring in a bit more of the technical areas that can be left with the participants after this consultation, that we can establish a relationship and a dialogue. So we go to the next segment, please. Allow me to just until we get to the next segment, allow me to share with you some of the comments which we have received from three entities who were, some of them were unable to be here, and I will try to do my best, because I have received their comments in French, and although I'm not a francophone by education or by speech, but I'll do my best to at least shed some light from the way that I interpreted it. We received Bank al-Wafaq والبنك الأخضر and also from Al-Masraf al-Islami al-Mauritani. Without going into the details, and I think we can elaborate that, is that my sense of what they were sharing with us is more investments should be addressed in the form of how can, for example, BIM Bank, which is the Banque Islamique de Mauritanie, they were interested in.
Sorry to interrupt you, but we can start with the Islamic Development Bank because they are with us, and Mr.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
okay.
Then we can intervene directly.
Thank you for that. Sorry for that, Nabil. Please, yeah, no Islamic Development Bank, the floor is yours. Fadhalu.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum to all of you. Thank you, Kiyan, and greetings to all of you. It's great to see a former colleague. Well, he's still a colleague, Dr. Hakim Al-Wa'ar. Greetings to you, greetings to Ayman Sijini and the colleagues from ICD. My name is Noor Abdi. I'm the Principal Global Agricultural Practice Specialist at the Islamic Development Bank. It's a pleasure again to be with you. Thanks, Jean-Marc, for the informative presentation. It does indeed set the scene for our dialogue. I would like to share a few thoughts on the topic of the private sector engagement, some of the challenges that we see from the MDB lens, and IDB's priorities in terms of financing and supporting member countries' ag transformation. We recently published a report on the future of agriculture or agri-food industry in our member countries. One of the objectives of the study was to identify entry points for the private sector investment in 18 commodity value chains, covering crops, livestock that are predominantly produced in our member countries. The study, which is available on our website, identifies a number of factors that will influence private sector investment and will shape the future of agriculture in our member countries, some of which have already been highlighted in the presentations, but I think it's worthwhile mentioning a few just for the discussion, and probably that will inform the recommendations that will go to your conference or meeting in Iraq. And these factors will also inform IDB project financing in the near future. The first set of factors are innovations around digitalization, agri-tech, and big data that will have major implications on efficiency and profit maximization in the agri-food industry. The second set are around specific to the industry, and there are factors or trends that will influence private sector investment in the near future, such as regulations relating to environmental concerns, the need for sustainability, climate security, and green economy. As the impact of climate change, we all know, increases in the coming few years, we will see more innovations around alternative farming methods, such as hydroponics, aeroponics, aquaponics, etc. These are innovations that will create investment opportunities for the private sector in the region, and particularly in GCC. We already see some private sector investments and startups in countries like UAE that are innovating around those new emerging technologies. And finally, we all know that COVID-19 had notable impact on the food systems, particularly commodity supply chains. Last year, we saw farm input prices like fertilizers increase more than 100%. We do now see food inflation, 30% increase according to FAO estimates. So global value chains are shifting. We see them shifting from global settings to regional and sub-regional value chains. Countries are prioritizing food security and building their food systems resilience, which are driving this diversification of global value chains to more regional and sub-regional. In short, value chains are becoming less fragmented, more concentrated, hence adding value at source. And this provides challenges, but also opportunities for the private sector, and more so in agricultural production-based economies in the region. Today, the region, we see food inflation at record high, youth unemployment is around 30% according to some estimates. And as indicated in the presentations, the region will probably not meet the SDG targets if nothing substantial is done. As part of the bank's Build Back Better strategy, IDB will create space for the private sector investment, particularly SMEs, in agribusiness and commodity value chains. We are currently supporting development of viable value chains for strategic commodities like rice, cassava, fisheries, poultry, dairy, that have high potential of generating significant and decent employment opportunities, not only for the farmers, but also for the youth and women along the value chain. Now, to crowd in private sector investment, we are supporting member countries to develop agricultural processing zones through various PPP models, helping countries develop infrastructure that will de-risk the investment of private sector financing along the value chain. For example, last month, we have approved 150 million for Nigeria as part of a 500 million financing to develop cassava value chains in partnership with African Development Bank, IFAD, and some private sector enterprises in Nigeria. Therefore, the bank is willing to work with FAO in supporting development of agro-processing zones in the countries of the region that have potential to actually develop those zones like Sudan, Iraq, Mauritania, and so on and so forth, that do have the potential to produce at scale. However, if we need to attract private sector investment, countries need to work on their policy environment. And I think the ADG, Dr. Hakim Al-Wa'ar, evoked that point. We hear this when we talk to investors like public investment funds in the GCC, for example. The FAO guidelines on principles of responsible investment in agriculture and food systems that was developed back in 2014 are useful, but not sufficient since they are not non-binding or voluntary. But also countries do lack the capacity to reinforce some of those principles and do not have the policy frameworks in place. So my submission is, or question rather, how can we collectively support the countries develop those institutional arrangements and frameworks that are conducive to private sector engagement? I know this will vary from country to country, but would be useful if we could highlight some of these issues and table them at the conference that you will be having in Iraq. And also if you can highlight some of the work that you do, and if you think as an FAO, how we can collectively support the countries to put those institutional frameworks in place. The bank doesn't only support commodities and agribusinesses, but also, especially after COVID, we are supporting countries to put or build back their production systems in terms of building resilience to address these issues that you have highlighted, John, Mark, in your presentation with respect to yield enhancements and technologies, supporting research systems to ensure that we provide high yield variety or seeds to our member countries to ramp up the production systems and address the issues of food security at the national level. So I'll stop here. Thank you so much, Kayan, for the opportunity to engage with you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Noor Abdi. It was a pleasure to listen to your comments. Very well taken and very timely also, because we see that these are opportunities that can certainly allow me just. I would like to also call upon Jean-Marc, maybe, because I think some of the areas that you were asking or that you were referencing, maybe he can answer. But allow me just to share with you. I think what we're trying to do. And I think, if I may also address it, we received in the chat from the Collier platform a question regarding how can FAO partner. They use the example of Senegal, the example of having farmers at a large scale, small farmers, medium farmers, and then how do you address these stakeholders? And in West Africa, particularly, that these are a variety of projects, so it's multi-stakeholder and multifaceted projects. What FAO does, as you all know very well, FAO is not a funding institution. FAO is the largest technical UN agency that addresses food, nutrition, sustainable development, and water scarcity in our region, as Jean-Marc was saying, building resilience for food security and nutrition, assisting countries in addressing the immediate causes of vulnerability, food insecurity, malnutrition, resilience-based policies, and investments. The thing that we can do, if I may address Noor Abdi's direct response, is FAO has what we call seed money. And this seed money is what we call the Technical Cooperation Program that is under the authority and the auspices of the Assistant Director General, Dr. Abdul Hakim, who I hope is still here with us. And this seed money is really, for us, when I say seed money, is a platform that we can work with the ISDB very closely with, because we have an agreement. Let's say, we have an agreement with ISDB that also trickles down to the ICD and also to the FICA network, which is what we did last summer. Based on that, we can certainly work on multifaceted platforms of how to address investments. That is it goes through seed money. We can design a program together, and then naturally the bank has the funding element to carry it forward in terms of program development or direct assistance. Either it can be loans or it can be grants. So these are the areas that we can certainly address. And I see that this meeting that we're having today, I hope that can lead to a conclusion or to a recommendation that we continue this dialogue on a quarterly or on a regular basis, because one meeting for 2 hours is not enough. I think we need to, certainly that's one of my recommendations as a moderator, and I hope that all the participants would agree that we certainly need to work together, because as we go, the partnership develops more. ISDB, ICD, and all the stakeholders and all the participants who are here. Jean-Marc, you have any comments, please? Over to you.
Thank you very much. I listened carefully to what Noor Abdi said, and indeed, there are plenty of opportunities. I think we all agree that the institutional framework is very important. How much is it conducive to doing business? We have example of countries that have made great effort in the region to offer opportunities. Obviously, stability is a keyword, a rule of law, etc. So we are very much aware that some countries are at different levels there, and that has an implication on the capacity of doing business. Then I was also wondering, I was listening to this interesting point about the voluntary guideline on sustainable investment in agri-food systems, which are good but not enough indeed. This has been the result of a very long process of consultation, but at the end of the day, countries are sovereign, and they decide how they want to organize their legal and institutional framework. But it offers principles. It offers principles, and I think they are the same as the Sustainable Development Principles. And here, an element also of interesting discussion is how we can, in our dialogue, discuss what it means. I mean, how does it influence the way of doing business? For a business that is more sustainable and more inclusive, business will always have to look at a profit. That is absolutely normal. Otherwise, there is no business. But how can we then look at business, looking at these principles, and progressively contributing to achieving these higher level goals? This is not easy. I'm very much aware of that, but I think it's also part of the dialogue, because the private sector obviously has a very important role to play in the whole agri-food system, from production to consumption. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jean-Marc. Thank you for that. Allow me just to, if I may, just see if I can, as I was saying, we had some inputs from key participants who are unfortunately not here. We have we had some comments from Mauritania and also from the Al Akhdar Bank. And Nabil, I see you are on the video.
Yeah. Only to say that the key, I mean, the panelist, Mr. Tawfiq Lashab, the CEO of Islamic Bank of Mauritania, is available in order to share his point.
Please, the floor is his.
Yeah, thank you.
السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام. تفضل.
عليكم السلام. تفضل.
نعم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Bonjour, chers invités, chers présentateurs. Good morning, good evening. Je vais parler en français. Mon anglais, j'arrive à comprendre un peu, mais peut-être que je n'arriverai pas à m'exprimer. Tout d'abord, je salue cette initiative conjointe de l'ICD et de la FAO qui a donné l'occasion au secteur privé de s'exprimer, de donner certaines de ses idées. Moi, mon intervention porte juste sur un commentaire de l'une des recommandations de la réunion des hauts fonctionnaires qui s'est tenue dernièrement. J'ai principalement 2 commentaires là-dessus, mais tout d'abord, je vais commencer par faire une très, très brève présentation du pays où je suis. Bon, comme vous l'avez dit, je suis le directeur général de la Banque islamique de Mauritanie. Je travaille ici en Mauritanie depuis 2 ans et demi. La Mauritanie, c'est une population de 4,8 millions d'habitants, dont 40% ont moins de 15 ans. Imaginez tous ces gens-là, comment penser faire pour les nourrir et pour leur offrir de l'emploi et des opportunités de vie humaine décentes. La population est rurale à 44%, d'où l'importance d'un tel sujet. La projection sur l'évolution de cette population est à peu près, on a dit qu'actuellement on est 4,8 millions, on va passer en 2030 à 6 millions, en 2040 à 7,5 millions et en 2050 à 9 millions si la croissance actuelle va en se ralentissant un tout petit peu. L'espérance de vie est de 62 ans, elle pourrait être améliorée et le taux de fécondité est 4,5. Ça, du côté population. La superficie de la Mauritanie, c'est un peu plus que 1 million de kilomètres carrés. C'est 1 million 30 000. C'est presque 2 fois la France. C'est 6 fois la Tunisie. Mais il n'y a seulement que 20% de cette superficie qui peut être exploitée pour l'agriculture et l'élevage. Mais les terres cultivables proprement dites, elles représentent seulement 500 000 hectares, soit 0,5% seulement de la surface du pays. Je répète, c'est 500 000 hectares, c'est uniquement 0,5% de la surface du pays. Les terres irrigables le long du fleuve Sénégal sont encore plus réduites. C'est uniquement 150 000 hectares qui sont au sud du pays, sur la rive nord du fleuve. Mais cette superficie, avec un effort conjoint entre le secteur privé et entre le gouvernement, elle pourrait être très, très fortement développée et elle pourrait vraiment générer de très, très forts revenus et de très fortes productions. À titre d'exemple, la Mauritanie avait encouragé la production de riz. Il y a juste quelques années, il y avait un déficit de presque 90%. Elle ne produisait que 10% peut-être de sa consommation. Et actuellement, elle est presque, en quelques années, je le répète, elle est presque arrivée à l'autosuffisance parce que pas seulement elle a créé des espaces irrigués, mais elle a encouragé à la création d'unités de décortiquage du riz qui a employé de la population, etc. Alors, L'économie de la Mauritanie, le PIB de la Mauritanie avoisine les 6 milliards de dollars. Le taux de croissance ces dernières années aussi entre 3,5% et 5%, entre 3,5% et 5%. Le secteur primaire représente 30% du PIB. Le cheptel ici est très important. Il est estimé à 1,4 million de camelats, 1,6 million de bovins, 6,5 millions de caprins et 10 millions d'ovins. Alors, pour un petit commentaire sur les camelats, donc sur ce 1,4 million de chameaux et de chamelles, il pourrait y avoir en théorie une très très grande production de lait de chamelle qui est très prisé puisque c'est un lait où il n'y a pratiquement pas de fête, il n'y a pratiquement pas de gras. Il est très demandé, surtout dans les pays du Golfe, mais jusqu'à maintenant, il y a juste des petites tentatives de faire des petites unités industrielles, mais c'est vraiment pas exploité. Et là, c'est l'une des idées que le gouvernement et le secteur privé et les banques peuvent travailler là-dessus. Aussi, comme vous le savez tous, avec toutes les maladies du temps moderne, là, la viande de chameau, tout le monde le sait, elle n'est pas grasse du tout. Il y a zéro cholestérol aussi. Donc là, il y a du travail à faire. Alors, la recommandation sur laquelle j'ai rebondi, la recommandation de la réunion des hauts fonctionnaires, elle disait, texto, je cite, pour atteindre les objectifs du développement durable, la FAO doit aider les pays à mener la transformation rurale et agricole inclusive au moyen de l'intensification durable et du développement des chaînes de valeur. Bon, c'est une excellente recommandation. Personnellement, j'ai essayé de la déchiffrer pour essayer de voir comment on pourrait la mettre en pratique, comment on pourrait atteindre cet objectif de développement durable en faisant une transformation rurale agricole inclusive qui inclut tout le monde au moyen de l'intensification durable et du développement des chaînes de valeur. Pour moi, les deux idées pour arriver à mettre en place cette recommandation portent sur deux idées. La première, c'est de créer des projets capitalistiques. Assez souvent, quand on parle de l'agriculture, on pense uniquement aux gens qui sont démunis, mais à mon avis, l'agriculture dans nos pays, elle a besoin d'aider les jeunes, les petites structures. On va voir comment, c'est le deuxième point. Mais principalement, pour développer l'agriculture, moi, à mon avis, il faudrait penser vraiment à des projets capitalistiques qui seraient initiés par de moyennes et de grandes entreprises. Ces projets pourraient avoir les financements. Le gouvernement pourrait encourager ces très grands projets ou bien ces projets qui sont vraiment capitalistiques par beaucoup de mesures. Il peut y avoir des mesures de dégrèvements fiscaux, et il peut y avoir des financements bancaires à taux bonifiés. On peut penser aussi à l'exonération des droits de douane sur les équipements importés. Et surtout, le gouvernement, ce que doit faire le gouvernement pour encourager les grandes entreprises et les entreprises moyennes à investir dans l'agriculture, c'est de régler la question foncière. C'est-à-dire, si une entreprise décide d'investir dans l'agriculture et que la situation foncière n'est pas, il n'y a pas de titre foncier, le gouvernement doit le faire immédiatement. C'est l'un des plus grands leviers parce que l'investisseur se sentira en sécurité quand il a un titre foncier en son nom, d'une, et d'autre, il peut accéder très, très facilement au financement bancaire. Donc, la première idée, c'est d'essayer d'encourager les entreprises capitalistiques, c'est-à-dire les gros commerçants, les grandes entreprises industrielles, les entreprises de l'immobilier, d'investir dans l'agriculture. Parce que ces nouveaux arrivants, ils connaissent ce que ça veut dire investir et ils ont le moyen d'investir. Donc, ils peuvent moderniser et cette modernisation, bien sûr, va créer toute une chaîne de valeur autour de cette industrialisation. La deuxième idée, pour penser aux petits agriculteurs, aux petits éleveurs, mais pour qu'ils ne restent pas petits, pour qu'ils ne reproduisent pas la même forme économique et sociale qu'ils ont vécue depuis toujours, il faudrait casser cette scène, cette
I'm sorry. I think we seem to have lost Mr. Tawfiq. Can we try to bring him back again in the meantime?
I think he's there.
In order to save some time, Jean-Marc, maybe you can.
Is there?
Please,
Is
the floor is
there?
yours.
He's back. Yeah, but he should unmute. Vous devez remettre votre micro.
Ok. Est-ce que ça va, vous m'entendez?
Oui, oui, oui.
Là, je termine dans 2 minutes. Donc, la deuxième idée, c'est d'essayer de propager, développer, d'encourager le concept de capacitation économique. C'est un concept qui est cher à la Banque islamique de développement. C'est la Banque islamique de développement qui l'a mis en place depuis quelques années. Il a été testé effectivement dans certains pays. Il avait été testé au Soudan dans la production de légumineuses. Il avait été testé en Palestine. Il a été aussi testé en Tunisie dans la filière lait. Et dans les 3 cas, ça a donné de très, très bons résultats. Mais malheureusement, c'est un concept qui n'est pas très vulgarisé. Les institutions financières privées ne le connaissent pas du tout. Il peut absolument fonctionner dans un très, très grand nombre de pays. À quoi il consiste, c'est vrai, à financer, par exemple, les petits agriculteurs d'une zone ou bien d'une filière bien précise. Mais comme on le sait, il ne suffit pas de financer ces gens, parce que ces gens ont tellement besoin d'autres choses pour les aider à produire, telles qu'ils ont besoin de structures qui leur font des formations, ils ont besoin, par exemple, de sociétés qui leur apportent les intrants, ils ont besoin aussi des gens qui les aident, mais de manière économique et viable, pour commercialiser leur production. Ce concept, sur le plan économique, a absolument réussi. Peut-être que sur le plan financier, il n'est pas encore très, très rentable, mais là aussi, moi, j'invite les gouvernements et j'invite la FAO et l'ICD pour revoir un tout petit peu certaines évaluations, parce qu'il y a certains projets qui peuvent ne pas être viables dans l'immédiat sur le plan financier, mais ils le seront à terme. Tout le monde sait que construire une autoroute ne rapporte pratiquement rien sur 5 ans, sur 10 ans, sur 20 ans, mais peut-être sur le très long terme, ça rapporte, ça désenclave le pays, ça donne la possibilité d'orienter des zones entières ou bien des filières entières pour un développement qui sera vraiment soutenu, un développement qui se propagera. Donc, en résumé, je dirais, pour vraiment lever le niveau général de la production et pour une durabilité, ça ne peut jamais se faire par uniquement des incitations financières, mais il faudrait qu'il y ait tout un cadre de formation, un cadre de rapprochement de la production vers les marchés et surtout vers les marchés internationaux. Donc voilà, je ne prends pas plus la parole pour laisser l'occasion à mes collègues de se prononcer et peut-être qu'on reviendra dans le débat. Je vous remercie encore une fois pour cette occasion donnée.
Shukran, Si Tawfiq. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Jean-Marc, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I didn't know I had a role of discussant, but I continue to listen with great interest to the different interventions. And now, if you allow, I will take advantage of the interpretation so that I can respond in French. Il me semble que j'ai cette opportunité maintenant de pouvoir vous répondre en français. Merci beaucoup. C'était vraiment très intéressant votre perspective et vos idées et beaucoup des points que vous avez mentionnés. Je crois que ce sont des points qui sont tout à fait alignés avec ce que nous essayons de promouvoir, notamment le fait qu'on ne peut pas espérer avoir le développement des systèmes agricoles sans une série de conditions, qu'on appelle les enabling environment en anglais, donc ce que vous avez appelé le cadre. C'est tout à fait important, la partie développement des connaissances, accès au marché, accès aux infrastructures. Vous avez mentionné également une chose très importante qui est le fait que certains de ces investissements, et merci d'avoir souligné les programmes de capacitation économique qui sont vraiment très intéressants. Certains des investissements n'apparaissent pas comme économiquement rentables, mais le sont peut-être probablement à plus long terme. Ça, c'est aussi une question très, très importante. Votre question, votre idée numéro 1, bien sûr, là, c'est toujours le même problème des arbitrages que les Anglais appellent les trade-offs. Et je crois que tout le monde qui travaille dans ce secteur sait qu'on a des problèmes de mettre en œuvre une agriculture performante, on a des problèmes de chercher les investissements et on a aussi une population qui malheureusement est parmi les plus pauvres. Et alors, en fonction des choix que les pays font, il est parfois plus difficile de s'attacher à un problème qu'à l'autre. Vous avez dit une chose, personnellement, je suis tout à fait d'accord. Aider les petits producteurs, ça ne veut pas dire les laisser dans leur misère, ça n'a aucun intérêt. Ce qu'on espère, c'est vraiment faire en sorte de les sortir de leur pauvreté et de les faire évoluer depuis la condition de petits producteurs vulnérables vers des options qui leur permettent d'avoir un business intéressant. Il y a plein de problèmes, bien sûr, parce que ça veut dire aussi probablement un nombre moins élevé de personnes qui vivent de l'agriculture, une évolution vers les chaînes de valeur. Mais je pense que nous avons entendu beaucoup de points très intéressants de votre part et je vous remercie. And thank you, Kayan, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We had, if I may just ask, we had some comments that came from two entities that were with us. One of them was an intervention from Al Akhdar Bank in Morocco, and the second one was from the Wifaq Bank from Tunisia. Their interventions are quite detailed. Particularly the one of Wifaq Bank, it is basically they have provided very substantive comments and views, particularly Wifaq Bank, whereby they touch upon the role of the private sector in the agroeconomical zones, and they talk about let's say the areas that needs the private sector intervention, along with FAO and other institutions like the Islamic Development Bank. They went into telling us the problem with the structure of the private sector there that has some limitations, and they give very good recommendations on how to do it. I would rather that we share it afterwards, because it's better that it is given from their voice rather than an independent voice. But certainly from what I can tell you, they show exactly what Jean-Marc was talking about earlier, the areas that are of specific concern in the region. Water scarcity, for example, they talk about. How can the private sector support water scarcity initiative, which FAO takes as one of its top priorities in the region, and how to adopt modern technologies and institutional solutions to increase the efficiency and productivity of water use in agriculture. I think this is a very key substantive point that we as FAO, and I'm sure ICD, all constituents that are with us today, ISDB, takes this very, very seriously. It certainly is an important subject that even will be discussed at our roundtable meetings, which we will have at the regional conference on Monday and Tuesday. Not only water scarcity, but also what we are surrounded with in the region, which is with resilience. So they do touch upon that, and I think they've given us quite a substantive input of 9 pages of views and comments, which I thank them very, very much for making this intervention. And they also talked about, and they also give recommendations, quite substantive recommendations of addressing organic agriculture, better use of agro industries, how to address climate smart agriculture associated with climate change and climate issues that we're having. These are all issues that I think warrants not only solutions, but it warrants how to address in a long-term and systematic partnership together. So we take these points very, very seriously. And they also, last but not least, they also touch upon how to work with small-scale farming focuses on the promotion of decent rural employment and inclusive economic growth that benefit vulnerable groups, especially women and youth. These are areas that FAO certainly focuses on, and we count this dialogue by elevating these priorities to a level whereby the private sector can certainly come closer to us. And that is the purpose of this complementarity role between us. Then I will touch upon, and then there's also an intervention that came from just one second. The second one came also from Al Akhdar Bank, which is also giving their interventions on the greening 2030 in Morocco, which is something that is a national initiative that is taking place in Morocco. They also give very substantive recommendations on how, again, the mechanism of how the private sector involves itself with an institution like FAO, and where does the banking sector comes into this. I think this is also very important. It's the issue of institutional building, and I think this is a very important element of how to build capacity. Again, I suggest that these papers, without going into too much, because I'd like to give the floor, we have 30 minutes left. I'd like to stop here with these 2 interventions from these 2 banks, and I suggest that we share these notes with the stakeholders after this. I'm sure also you would like to have copies of the presentations that Jean-Marc gave, and also the 2 videos on ICD and FAO. But it's very clear that interventions that are coming to us are all very valid and very warranted. I'd like to, if you allow me, I'd like to make one comment that was written in the chat that came from Mr. Hamza Boukili, who's the head of partnerships at ICD. He made a very, very, very good point, and I don't know if he's here or not, but if he allows me, I'll read. He says that ISDB and ICD, in partnership with FAO, should maintain a regular dialogue to carry out a strategic mapping to align our structures for engagement with the private sector across the NENA member countries. As a start, it would be advisable to design a pilot program together. This is exactly what I was saying earlier when we had a conversation with Ali, and to start first of all, mapping is key here. And I hope this is one of the recommendations, because a mapping exercise, which is what our Assistant Director General may have touched upon earlier, mapping exercise is the beginning of the partnership, because the mapping exercise is where we will understand very clearly, and we are going to do this, by the way, in FAO, and we will be working very close with ICD and the Islamic Development Bank, because and we will even probably use an independent channel that can help us with this, because the mapping exercise gives us the clarity of who's who in which sector and how we can use them. It is done by thematic areas. When I say thematic areas that contains FAO's main domain. So it can vary from plant production or plant protection to water specialists to climate smart agriculture to innovations, to all these areas that FAO works with. And I think this mapping exercise is really a very, very good proposal, and we welcome this idea. So and I'd like to hear from anyone that would like to make any comments or any interventions. So on that note, I think I have spoken for 1.5 hours. I would like to give the floor to Nabil. Just if you have any comments, Nabil, to ask. Over to you.
That's fine. It's fine. Everything is fine. I think no comment from our side. Only would like to open the discussion now from from the floor. I think I see some question received from in the question and answer box. Someone from Senegal. I think you have already them. I mean, if you can already mentioned, and
yes.
Let's get your views on that.
Yes, I saw that, and the Collier platform was basically asking, as we had addressed, they are in Senegal and they're talking about a platform where they are involved in recycling, developing a value chain approach that covers, post-harvest losses, marketing and affordable prices, and quality production. These are all areas and they're asking, how can FAO and its partners find seed money? I think, again, they're probably interested in funding mechanisms, or they're interested in how we can help these kind of platforms. For me, first of all, Senegal, so we know, it falls under our regional office for Africa, which is based in Accra. In Senegal itself, in Dakar, we have a sub-regional office. So I'll be very, very happy to link the Collier platform with our sub-regional and regional office, and keeping everyone involved, because there are ways and means for them to seek funding mechanisms and access to information. This is very important. And food loss and food waste is a key objective and priority of FAO, and particularly when it comes to post-harvest losses. This is very, very important. And also we'd like to link them up with our offices there, that they can talk to the marketing, the extension technicians, a way to help startups. And I see that the Collier platform sounds like, although they talk about a large number of farmers, but I'm sure they're smallholder. So small scale family farming, small scale farmers, we will be happy to help them and to address this. And if Nabil, we can link up with them, it will be our pleasure.
Yeah, you are right. Even from our side, we have our regional office in Senegal, and they can, they approach us in Senegal, in our regional office, or in the Bank Islamic of Senegal. Also, they can assist them in order to finance the SMEs and the startups there. Then we could channel them to either to Bank Islamic of Senegal or to ICD regional office if the size of the project is valuable. Then we see how we can explore ways of cooperation. Thank you for that. I think there are some person from the audience who would like to speak. I don't know if Mr. Ali, I think he would like to speak. If we can give him the floor.
Yes, please.
Sorry, we have 3 the same name, so he need to change the name so we can give him permission.
Okay. I think you need to change your names on the Zoom, because the names are the same, so that way you can have permission to speak.
Mohammed, for now, please give the permission for all of them, for all names, just for him to speak.
If you allow me until we get did we give them permission, or can I don't know, where's Ali? Is he there? Can we speak, or can he speak, or not?
I gave him the permission.
Mr. Ali, you have the floor. Hello.
I think
he's
Mr. Adi. No, then if in case he can come again, then you can proceed. If he got the permission, he can raise his hand in order to give him the floor. Go ahead.
Okay. So I think we have about 20 minutes left, and I'd like to just reiterate again that we are having our as it was pointed out in the outset, this is a consultation that will be fed to the regional conference ministerial meeting on Monday. And I hope that all the participants will get some feedback, given that this meeting is a semi-closed event because it's at the ministerial level, but we will be the representation of the private sector of this consultation will be represented there, and let's say the summary of this 2 hours will be presented hopefully by the CEO of ICD, and that way it would be a good way for all of these points. We have taken note. I have certainly taken note of everything, and the discussions will be reflected very clearly in the ministerial meeting, inshallah, on Monday. From my end, I don't know if there's anything else we can intervene. We still have a few more minutes, but I am open for this is all a learning curve for us. So Nabil,
I think since we don't have any question from the floor, then we can conclude. I think Mr. Ali is not he didn't be able to. We are
yes.
I don't know if he can able to speak. It would be it's fine. Otherwise, then you can conclude. That's good.
Thank you. Mr. Ali just commented that he has no comments. First of all, allow me to take this opportunity to thank my colleagues and my brothers at the ICD and ISDB for really being very patient with FAO and with the regional office. I speak on behalf of one team. I speak of one big team here. We are one big family. This is all a learning process for us. And in conclusion, I just like to highlight again that the main drive that FAO's regional office is aiming at, the engagement with the private sector, is a facilitation and an understanding and a collaboration across all the different stakeholders: governments, civil society, development partners, research, and the private sector have much to gain in engaging in the kind of collaborative partnership that is needed to achieve the SDGs. And more specifically, the main themes for the private sector engagement really should hover around our regional priorities. We are in a region, again, I'm using water as a priority that is scarce and has a geopolitical connotation. I am today having this meeting with you from Baghdad, Iraq, and it's important. It's important because this is the first time that we are on the ground having a regional meeting on the ground in one of our beloved countries in the region. And for FAO, this is an important event. So I count on all of you and thank you. Important enough is that I would like to recommend that this would be the beginning of a long-term partnership where this dialogue continues, inshallah. It's very important because we can bring in more people and more stakeholders. And once we know more how to work with each other and speak the same language, as we say, then we can achieve results. Really, the talking is very nice, but at the end we need to help the needy and the ones who are the most vulnerable. And I'm sure all of you will agree with me that these are the stakeholders that we need to work with. So allow me, without any more delays, and to all of you, I thank you all very, very much. We hope to have these outcomes shared with all of you. I know that the network is there, and I am really, really very honored that I was given the opportunity by my brothers at the ISDB and ICD to be the moderator. أشكركم جميعا، وأنا سعيد جدا إنه اليوم قضينا الوقت مع بعض، وأنا أتمنى إنه نتشاوف في المستقبل، وأشكركم جزيلا، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Thank you.
عليكم السلام. Thank you very much.
شكرا جزيلا، جزاك الله خيرا، ونحن نشكرك أيضا.
شكرا
نبيل.
Thank you very much for your valuable input, and now we are looking forward to the implementation phase now, inshallah. Thank you again.
Inshallah. Thank you very much to everyone, and let's all stay in touch and continue this dialogue and keep the momentum. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.
أشكركم جميعا.
عليكم السلام.
في رعاية الله. مع السلامة.